And what we need to do now is the editing that needs to be done on the playhead. So in other words, this pitch multiplier can work. So we're just going to use that as a variable we're going to throw into there. And let's make a new variable. And we were going to definitely expose this one to the inspector, make it editable inside the inspector. Otherwise, obviously, it will only be the same one for every single one. We can't have that happen, of course. So, okay, so our variable is not going to be a Boolean. Probably want to move this over a little bit so you can see a bit better. Our Boolean will be a float. And it's not going to be called new var. It will be called frequency multiplier for now. Frequency mult. And we want to make it public and make it editable. Instance editable. That's by the way, this is a shortcut to be able to get that into be instance editable. You can just click on that little I thing, and then it is instance editable at that point, which is nice. That means it will technically show up in our inspector, I believe, for that object. So I believe we can basically use that. All we have to do now, of course, is get a set variable to this, and call. Nah, I can't do that. I'll have to do maybe like probably this. Set. So that's the frequency multiplier. And we can certainly dump that into there. Oops, sorry. No, I forgot about this. We have to do this whole branchy thing. Branchy true. Go set. Set the multiplier first, then play the sound. So setting the frequency multiplier will be there. That will be going into the pitch multiplier right here. I'm not sure why that variable is there. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe it isn't actually set now that I think about it. You know what? I think it isn't. I think that's a get. I don't think that's a set. So let me go back and do that again. It's a get the frequency multiplier value. Get. That's what we want to do. And go pitch multiplier, put that there. Much easier, much cleaner. Okay, cool. Save that. And then I believe once we compile, if we were to go to our constellation, take a look at our playhead AP, somewhere down here we should find our frequency multiplier. But yeah, there it is right there. Boom. Right there. So that's cool. So we can start putting in our frequency multiplier, 1.0 will be the main figure there, and that'll be like 400. And then if we do it at a different point, it'll be different. Let's go check that out, make sure that works as a concept. This will be the higher frequency, therefore it'll be probably the whatever the heck it is. It'll be that one, 440 hertz. And then we will just start marking some stuff. Something like that. Okay. And hit the space bar. All right, cool. Excellent. Very nice. So again, super simple, but we're just basically kind of getting things going on. So now what we can do is we're going to duplicate this this object, this playhead BP, and we're going to move that object a little farther higher. And now we're going to get different pitches. Now, there's obviously going to be a mathematical reason, and we'll actually do this much more precisely. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what the spacing is, right? That spacing value that we basically were working on for this whole thing, essentially. And what we can do is we can then create a multiplier, and that multiplier will then be a sort of positional value that is given to each one of these playheads. That's going to be in the inspector here. It's going to be in the, I keep saying the inspector. I'm sorry, I'm using Unity terms. It's going to be in here inside the whatever properties. And that then basically means that it'll automatically set its position basically on start for being exactly where it needs to be. So this is going to be very, very helpful because, of course, we will be doing a situation where we will change the spacing depending on whether we want to play it on a desktop or whether we want to walk into an entire room of this of this stuff. You know, we have to do a bunch more work also on the relative positioning, but we haven't done any of that stuff so far. So, and I wanted to show you guys a little bit of MetaSounds, at least a little bit. So, you know, to give you guys a little bit of an approach. It's a really, really simple thing. We're going to try and do more complex and more interesting stuff, you know, possible. But for right now, we're just doing this quickie thing, and we'll work on getting more fancy later, of course. All right, so the thing that we need to do, though, in our playhead is we do need to get our positioning. So that means we kind of need to move over all the way back to the beginning. And this is where we were setting the actor location. Yeah, do we have start? We have quantized clock. That's basically where it's starting. But we could also create a start event here, and it would then be able to find itself here. So we could do that. Let's do that. Start. Set event start. Event. Event begin play. That's perfectly fine. Sequence then 0. Oh, I see. Okay, so fine. We can do it through this. That's fine. There's already an event begin play. It's already been setting there to create the enable input and to create the clock and stuff like that. So we're going to just do one here in the sequence. That sequence then is going to go and get us all of our variables. So we're going to basically drag it all the way down to here to have it do what I need it to do as far as the other stuff. Okay, so here we go. We're going to make some more stuff happen. Do we have anything? We have spacing. We do have spacing. So spacing is a variable. But we want a spacing times a multiplier. And the multiplier, that's the frequency multiplier. Right, so we're going to call it a height multiplier. So we're going to make a new variable, another new variable. We're going to call this, not new var, we're going to call this height multiplier. And we are definitely going to make that thing instance editable. It's height multiplier. Height multiplier. So that's going to be the height multiplier for basically the row, essentially. And then so we'll take the spacing, we'll multiply it by the row. That gives us the exact vertical spacing that we're going to need for that object. Hopefully. So we'll go here, going to compile it. We haven't really done anything yet, but we will. And we need to get, where's our spacing? There's our row position. Is our spacing being used at all? Is our spacing being used at all? Do I have spacing? Not really. Yeah, I'm not doing that. There is no spacing, so I do have to kind of get the spacing value here, huh? Which I need to have, which is easy to find just in general at the moment, but it is not a global value that it's being given all the way through at the moment. It's very local. So we need to be careful about that, obviously, because it needs to be the same exact value. The spacing has to be pretty much a constant for everything that would be here, that would be in there. We want to be able to change it, but we don't have... I think the idea is that all playheads should have the same spacing. Yeah, they should all have the same variable. So we should not make it instance editable for spacing. Otherwise, that would make it different per playhead, which is not what we want. We want the spacing to be consistently the same. We do, however, want to set its value. Which is at 200. Right, got it. So that's what it is, and we're not going to make it instance editable, but we are going to make it movable and changeable and stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to get spacing, and then on some action, we're going to multiply spacing by there in order to move the set actor location target self. And I don't want to do that while it's moving. Right. I want to actually probably duplicate this node, copy that, push that over there. We're going to basically do this twice. So the deal is that we're going to take that spacing and we're going to set our value here. We want to split this struct so that we are moving it to a location that would be more than where it was. This might be a need to have to do all of the relative movement though. So we're going to have spacing. We're going to multiply it by the value is going to be frequency multiplier. Sorry, height multiplier, right? That's right. So we're going to go grab height multiplier, get height multiplier. That gives us our y. Is it y? I think it's y here. Or is it z? I can never remember that stuff, I have to say. Let's go check this out. Sorry, this is my own. Yeah, well, if that's blue, that's got to be z. So this is y, this is x, and that's z. So it's actually the z direction. Yeah. Okay. So in this particular case, our height multiplier will be 1.0 because it's on this particular one. But we're going to make multiple copies of this, and then the next ones will be 2.0, 3.0, 3.0, all the way up to the top. Okay? So we'll do that. So that's the idea. Is we're going to basically do that. Set the actor location there. Now, the problem that I see is potentially not being able to have that height V consistent, but we'll find out about that. So we're going to set our height to, and we're going to have to split this location, split the pin. So split the struct pin. Our new location Z is going to be those two together. Now our location Y and X and Y is kind of like our current location, really. And then we want to read our location and then just set it with a new Z, essentially. I think that's the deal. Then the question is, how does that play into this issue? Row position. It's moving to those positions. Does it multiply it by? No, it does not. It just moves it to the new location. But row hasn't got. Oh, row does. I'm sorry. Row's over here in, I'm going to bet, in the constellation itself. Right? So hang on. If we have row, 16 other elements. Yeah. That's what it is. Okay. Right. So we've got the same row elements that we kind of have. So we could potentially read that from row as well. That's easy to do. We would just have to replace the Z element with something different. That's the XYZ, which is minus 1500 and stays 1500 all the way through. All right, that makes sense. Okay. So 1500 minus 1500 is down here. So we need to basically multiply that by, oh boy, that's going to be fun because it has to be negative 1300, which means if we multiply it by, yeah, I think that should work. That should work. It's all about that multiplying by negative numbers sometimes. It's a little bit weird. But we're not going to multiply by negative. We're multiplying by positive, which gives us that negative value, which should be good still. Okay, there's our row. That's instance editable at the moment. We may not necessarily need it to be, but we definitely are doing it that way. All right, so we're going to get the row position. Right, and then we would need to replace. Oh boy, that's going to be interesting because we have to reset the Z at this point. Ugh. All right, well, we're going to keep wrestling with this, and we will see you in the next one. I hope it gets you get your game audio on, or at least your Unreal blueprints on anyway. All right, see you there. Bye.